Beneath the castle of Elsinore, of Shakespearean renown, the legendary paladin Ogier slumbers, only to reawaken when Denmark is facing doom. Embodying the soul of the Danish folk, this is his song. In all the realms and lands, wherever in the world I strove, I fought with an open forehead for what I truly believe. An eagle was the mark of my helmet, on my mail the sign of the cross, on my shield carrying lions strong, surrounded by the mild hearts. When men I threw my gauntlet, I struck up my knight's helmet. They saw I was Ogier the Dane, and no disguised wretch. If the Dane would struggle in the world, but hide his face and name, I know his spirit is not true, and I will not embrace him.
Goddag, godmorgen. Vi er her i Milano, eller i sådan i en af forstederne til Milano, fordi vi er taget afsted ned til Remigrationskonferencen. Men fordi der er så mange, der gerne vil forbruge det og angribe det osv., så har organisatorerne ikke kunne sige, hvor man skulle hen, så vi er bare sådan taget afsted ud om morgenen, og så først fået det sidste sted at vide her klokken for en halv time siden eller sådan noget. Så vi er på vej hen til eventstedet herovre nu, og prøve at se, hvordan det bliver. Jeg har interviewmarken med, så jeg kan sådan spørge folk, snakke med folk, skal vi se, hvad det bliver til. Så politiet er her selvfølgelig allerede. This is the entrance, huh?
Yeah, probably.
Should be.
Yes.
Good day, Mrs. Policeman. Thank you for protecting us. Så er der sådan nogle Antifa-typer. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Where do you come from?
Milano, here.
Milano?
Sì.
Jeg tror, det er så den lokale presse, der springer på dem der. Jeg ved ikke, om jeg synes, hun er det bedste ansigt udad til. Skal vi lige have et billede af teateret også? Ja? Men der er sådan helt blokket af. Der er helt blokket af i den ene ende der. Helt blokket af i den anden ende, og de har virkelig sådan lukket af for det. Men skal vi prøve at se, om vi kan komme ind?
Even yesterday, we had problems and we needed to move the whole event in the morning, and yet, here we are. Everybody's here. The symbols are there. Remigration will become a reality today.
All right. Thank you so much for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to be here. I've been to many political conferences throughout my life, as you can probably imagine. And to be honest with you, most of them are just disguised PR events where everyone, acts really important and drinks a glass of wine and repeats the same platitudes. But I have a sincere feeling that this summit is different. I believe that this is the type of gathering that has the potential to end up in history books. A gathering that is either going to be described as a crucial turning point for Europe, one where a group of young, strong-willed patriots came together, turned things around, and ultimately laid the foundation that saves Europe from destruction. Or, this is obviously a very different scenario, the type of gathering where a bunch of evil far-right fascists all gathered and try to prevent the world from progressing into this borderless state where everyone dances happily under gay rainbows and lives happily ever after. Because we all know that it's this way. History is written by the victors. And although I realize that that is an intense way to start off a speech, I genuinely believe that at this conference we are discussing the greatest question of our time. Our establishment clearly knows that as well. That is why, as you just heard, they try to do everything in their power to prevent us from being here today. But it seems that they still haven't quite figured out that we are the types of people who do not back down. We are the types of people that, no matter how much they try to intimidate us or try to stop us, that we will continue on with our mission. We won't back down from discussing the truth, and today we most certainly will not back down from discussing remigration.
Fellow Europeans, it's a great honour to stand before you today. I could stand here and explain the crisis that Europe is in, the demographic collapse, the open borders, the steady decline of our peoples. But if you're here today, I don't need to explain that to you. You already know. Instead, I want to speak to you about my nation, Ireland, a nation small in size, but facing the same ethnic replacement. From the outside, some may say we've not reached the same extreme as some of the larger nations, but that's a very dangerous illusion. With a population of only 5 million, even moderate immigration has a huge impact. When we've had roughly 140,000 come to Ireland in a single year, while roughly 60,000 have left of our own people, we are now facing a slower decline. We are simply a smaller nation being replaced at the same or a faster pace than many of the larger European nations. If we take 2023, we can see 79.5% of our population growth was from immigration. And you also keep in mind that the remaining population growth was largely from birth of non-Irish children. We can reach the conclusion that only between 7 to 20% of our population growth in Ireland came from ethnically Irish people in the year 2023. Such a demographic shift in a country as small as ours is not sustainable. It is transformative. If these trends continue, we are not looking at a distant possibility, but a rapidly approaching reality. The Irish people becoming a minority in their own homeland by the year 2060.
Okay, so I'm here with Dries van Langenhove. Is that pronouncing it right?
Dries van Langenhove, yes.
That's how do you rate me? Was I close or?
I would give you an 8. That's quite close. Internationally, I've heard a lot of weird things, and that was very understandable.
Understandable is good at least. Okay, you're a jurist, right? Isn't that true?
Yes, I studied law. Yes.
Yes. Okay, and you're a politician from Belgium?
I'm a politician and an activist. I used to be the youngest member of parliament in Belgium, but I am a nationalist activist campaigning for remigration.
Okay, and you're one of the organizers of the event here, right?
Correct. There's 4 of us. Guys from all over Europe have contributed to organizing this event, and we are very glad that it has went very smoothly up until now.
Yeah, and you're supposed to be meeting for a court case.
Yes, correct.
I think yesterday.
Normally yesterday there would have been the judgment for the Court of Appeals in Belgium, where I was supposed to be either acquitted or sentenced. In the first court I got a prison sentence and a 10-year ban on participating in politics due to a hate speech case.
How long prison sentence?
1 year effective in jail. Now I appealed, of course, because it's a ridiculous sentence and I'm completely innocent of what they accuse me of.
Okay.
So I appealed.
What did they accuse you of?
Well, they accused me of not doing enough to stop others from posting offensive memes in a private group chat. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that is what they are accusing me of. And even of that I am innocent, because it's about a few offensive and edgy memes, just jokes really, silly jokes, that were posted in a private group chat of our movement, and then now they claim that I should have done more to prevent others from posting these things. Now in reality that is just an excuse. They really just want to silence me. They also gave me a gag order for 3 years. They want to silence me.
They said that you could not speak about the case?
Exactly.
Really?
Yes, they tore me out of bed. They locked me up in jail, and then they blackmailed me. They made me sign a gag order, and because of that gag order, for 3 years I was not able to speak about my case. Now today I am, luckily, so I am making a lot of publicity about this case, because if we lose our freedom of speech in Brussels, then the whole of the European Union is
It goes down the drain.
in great peril. It's really insane, but because a lot of people still think that if they remain within the confines of the law, if they don't do anything wrong, that they will be left alone by the regime. But that's not true. If you pose a threat of any kind to the regime, as I do with my activism for remigration, then the regime will lock you up even if you haven't committed any crimes, because I clearly have not committed a single crime ever.
Okay, see. How does it affect you and your family? Your father, I understand, to be under this kind of duress. How does it affect you personally, and why are you willing to sacrifice so much and give so much of yourself to these movements?
Well, it is surely a great load to bear. That's true. For 7 years now, these court cases, one after the other, have been weighing heavily on me, on my energy, on my time, on my money. Everything goes towards these court cases. So I really hope that I will be acquitted soon, because I want to be with my children. I want to be with my family, with my wife. I want to be. I want to live a normal family life, not be torn away, locked up in prison.
But why is it so important then? Why? What keeps you going? And are you ever considering giving up?
No, not at all, because of my children, actually. I want to be able to look them in the eye when I am on my deathbed, and I want to look them in the eye and I want to be able to say that I have done everything within my power to make sure that the lands of our ancestors remain the lands of our descendants, that the chain of generations becomes stronger than ever before. And if I can say that I have done that, even if we may not succeed, then I will have lived a good life, and then they will have a father, grandfather, great-grandfather to be proud of. That's my goal in life.
Do you think, this is a leading question, I think, but is it possible to have genuine democratic rights? Is it possible to have a true freedom of speech if certain political standpoints are not allowed to speak? Can you speak to whether there's a kind of discrimination that goes against political speech that tries to actually affirm the interests of the European peoples?
Well, free speech is either absolute or it is not free speech. That must be made very, very clear, of course. Now, in my case, it's a horrible limit on freedom of speech, because in reality we are being imprisoned simply because of our activism, because we are successful activists. And the censorship that goes out from that is not only on us, it's millions of young people who are self-censoring themselves now because they are afraid to end up in jail, just like Dries van Langenhoven. So they are making an example out of me, they are silencing us because they have no narrative themselves. Their narrative is built upon lies. Everyone knows that diversity isn't our strength. Everyone knows that you cannot simply change your gender during breakfast. So if there is anyone to oppose this narrative, as I have done quite successfully over the past years, then they will just silence you because they have no real arguments against us.
I do have a client who had to go. He was persecuted, in my belief, by Danish national authorities, and actually sentenced in the. So he was acquitted in the first instance, then sentenced in the second one, but in the third instance, he then got off the hook, actually with reference to the case law of the European Court of Human Rights and the protection of freedom of speech.
Yes.
But is it not the so? I do pray for you and that you may be acquitted from this. It seems like such an unjust and unfair prosecution that you're under. But is there true democracy? Is it possible actually for European peoples to act on their own? Do European peoples have political agency if you're not able to be a nationalist? Is what I'm trying to ask.
No, they don't, and that's a very fundamental question. Now, we have something called a social contract, or at least there's a theory of the social contract that states that we can speak our minds, we can vote every now and then politicians will have to follow, and they will have to adapt their policies according to the will of the people. Now, in this case, politicians are not following the will of the people at all. All European countries have a majority of the native inhabitants who want to stop and reverse migration, but none of these countries are doing so. Even the countries with a right-wing government are maintaining the mass migration that goes towards Europe. And if we speak up against that, we are imprisoned. So not only are we not allowed to change the policies through voting or through using our opinion, but we are effectively being imprisoned for it. So if that part of the social contract, them respecting the will of the people, doesn't hold up, then your next question will probably be, what do we do about it? I won't answer that question for legal reasons, but what we are doing here today is one of the things that we can and must do. Even at the cost of great personal sacrifice, we must keep this talk up about remigration. We are winning. The word remigration is being mainstreamed. We are winning. We are gaining ground. I'm sure that the remigration plan that I just presented will appear in many different political programs and soon in many policy proposals, and after that, government policy. That is the goal. But when it comes to my own case, if referring to your earlier question, I think indeed my only hope lies in the European Court of Human Rights, because the Belgian courts are simply not trustworthy, not to use the word corrupt, but they are not trustworthy. They don't give me a chance. They don't let me do my story in court. So I think
They interrupt you?
Yes, they don't only interrupt me, they scrapped the day in which I was to give my defense, so they didn't even want to listen to me.
Sure, they're not giving you a fair hearing.
No, not at all, not a fair hearing, and that obviously violates my defense rights, which is one of the main reasons I will go to the European Court of Human Rights, and which is one of the reasons I think that we will win on the European level. But the problem is, and they know...
Did they specifically decline for you to be able to tell your story in court?
Yes, they did. I know that's
insane.
I know it is insane. I know it is insane. That's one of the reasons why I'm making so much fuss about my case now, because if this precedent becomes accepted, then all hell will break loose. Then it's over for activism in Europe. So that's why I'm making an international fuss about it, why I started communicating in English about this case, and why I think we must soon go to the European Court. But that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. And that is part of the strategy of the Brussels regime. They will drain you of time, money, resources, and they have an endless supply of money, of course. They have the taxpayer to drain for money, and we have to crowdfund everything. I have to sell t-shirts, books, socks, to be able to pay my lawyers. So,
yeah. That's horrible. So why is it important for activists and dissidents and everybody to be gathering here? Why is it not just something national? Why does your interest not stop at Belgium? What can we gain from having this kind of nationalist international? What's going on here?
Well, our enemies are globalists. They are fighting on a global scale. They are working together globally, and we will not win if we remain separated. We have to set our petty differences aside and work together to defeat the globalists. As long as there is one weak link in the chain of European countries, then we are weak as a whole. So we have to become strong as Europeans, united as Europeans. And I'm very glad to see that there are people from all over the West, not only Europe, but also America, Canada, Australia, the UK. So they're coming from everywhere to support the idea of remigration. And I think we will be successful. It will take many more sacrifices, and it will take even longer before our sacrifices will ever be acknowledged, let alone praised. But I'm quite sure that we will in the end be successful. We've achieved a great deal in the past years, in the past weeks especially, by organizing this event in the leftist Milan. They've tried everything they could to sabotage us, but here we are today for remigration.
It's very impressive that that you're able to carry the load through it. But then you ask, if is the aim to fragment the EU? What is the future of cooperation between different European nations? What is brotherhood that transcends nation? Is there some kind of future for a kind of unity after the EU? What must be done differently?
Well, I am very much pro-European cooperation. I think in the multipolar world that we face right now, a world with a lot of chaos, I think it will be very important for Europeans to unite, but not under the leftist, liberal, globalist European Union. I think there lies a great problem, and I think if more and more countries shift to the right, then we can put pressure on the European Union, either change it from within or create a new way of working together by utilizing our strengths, by utilizing our national sovereignty.
Mm-hmm. And maybe having true freedom of speech instead of this thing where, like, if they do insist upon persecuting people who are actually just being political and trying genuinely to serve their own national interest, there is no freedom of speech then.
No.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of the Americans in that regard. They have freedom of speech, and they very often don't realize how much it's worth and how easily it can be taken away by first little exceptions, and then it all comes crashing down, this freedom of speech. So I would hope that in this new era of European cooperation that we will have fundamental rights such as freedom of speech, and that they must be respected all throughout Europe.
Dries, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And God bless you, and may you have good luck with that court case.
Thank you. I'll
really
need
hope
it.
the best.
I'll need
yes.
it. Man, I'm exhausted. Fuck.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm taking you into the deep stuff here, I guess.
Yeah. Difficult questions, but no problem.
Yeah, but I think it's important for us
it
to
is,
be
it
able
is.
to think what happens afterwards, right?
Yeah. No, it's very good to ask not the same questions every time.
Yeah.
But I'm mentally and physically drained.
You did well, I think. Yeah. So I'm here with the philosopher himself, Mr. Keith Woods from Ireland. Yeah.
Great to be here.
Keith and I have met before. We've met in Detroit.
Yeah, of all places.
Yeah. No one's been shouting Christ is King here today. What do you think about that? Is something lacking? Is the Neoplatonic metaphysical element? Where is it?
Well, we got a Save the Nation Remigration chant going, so that was good. But no, I think it's good. I like the mix of people here. You know, it's not just one kind of ideological grouping. You have people from more mainstream parties. Talk to people from the Republican Party in the US. There are some people I've spoken to here that are involved in like Christian conservative politics. So I think that's the real positive, is that this idea of remigration and the focus on demographics, you know, it's not just limited to obscure far-right European parties. It really is going mainstream. We're seeing more and more mainstream parties. You had Chega from Portugal, an AFD representative spoke. So, I mean, it's amazing the kind of momentum we're getting in the last few years. Like, I've talked to some people here that were doing these kinds of conferences back in the 90s, and they just can't believe how mainstream this stuff is going, you know?
Yeah, I was surprised about that too. It's like, wow, it's really happening, and now we're here. But I still, you have your book here with you, and I wanted to mention it. It's Irish Nationalism.
Irish Nationalism, yeah.
Okay.
It's a collection. It's actually the first of its kind, which kind of surprised me when I went to put it together, as a collection of historical Irish nationalist writings. Because that's a good strength of the Irish nationalist movement, is we have such a rich history to tap into in terms of, you know, all our founding fathers are essentially ethno-nationalist revolutionaries. And this collection is from the 18th to 19th centuries, which you might think, you know, it's quite old, it's quite abstract. But it's very relevant today in terms of, you know, it was
You wrote another book about nationalism too, right?
Yeah. The other book is a collection of essays I have, which is intended as an introduction to nationalism. And I am finding more and more...
Because I thought about you as I was flying down here. I was speaking to a guy in the plane, and he was like, yeah, nationalism just rose in the 17th century or something. It's something recent. It's not something innate.
Yeah.
And what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, this is a very popular leftist belief, and it kind of has filtered down into popular culture. You'll hear it a lot, more mainstream people saying this, but it really came out of like Marxism in academia. So that's one thing I dedicated a lot of work to.
Is it true?
No. So I studied sociology, and I kind of specialized in sociology of nationalism, and that's what my first book, Nationalism, is really about, is debunking this idea that nationalism is some, 19th to 18th century invention, and show that actually this is a very perennial part of the human experience, even if, maybe...
It's something innate, almost.
Yeah. So maybe the idea of the nation state and the French Revolution and popular sovereignty, it popularizes the idea of nationalism, but it was tapping into something that was already there and already very real, which was, the ethnic basis for the state. Mm-hmm. And so that's a lot of the work we do, really, is just undoing the lies of academia. It's not coming up with any great novel theories so much as it is just presenting the facts, whether it's on demographics, historical studies, and just showing, this whole structure is built on an artifice of lies, and you can actually pick it apart quite easily, which is why we're so heavily censored.
Yeah. So are you still friends with Nick?
It's a little on ice at the minute, but who knows? We may reconcile. I don't really hold grudges. So.
No. But the reason I bring him up is not just to pick on your personal fallings out, and I think you should be friends. But the thing that I was going to point out is he's an imperialist, right?
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile you being, in a sense, kind of aligned, but there being a kind of imperial structure? Christianity had an imperial structure through the Roman Church especially, and now with the Human Rights Court, there's a kind of imperial project that is pan-European as well.
Yeah.
Why are you here? Why does it make sense for people to meet from all over Europe? And what is true European community across of nations?
I don't think there's any contradiction in terms of as these nationalist movements are being strengthened in the rest of Europe, it is strengthening our own movement as well. Remigration is this metapolitical term that came out of France, and then Martin Sellner did a lot to popularize it in Germany. And it's an idea that, as we're seeing here, has spread across the continent. So it is a general cultural trend across the West. Regardless, we may be nationalists, but we do inhabit this global space, this global communication system. There is a broader European culture. And so I do look at it as anything that strengthened nativist nationalist movements in the rest of Europe is good for us as well, especially because, look, we might be nationalists, we still have to contend with these things. We still have to contend with things like the European Union. That structure is going to be there. We're going to have to collaborate with each other.
But what structure should
that.
come instead of the European Union? Don't we have to figure out what the new structure should be? That is supranational in a sense.
Yeah, I think there is space. We will have to have some kind of confederation between European states to collaborate on the kinds of issues that are being discussed today.
Yeah.
But no one here really is super against that kind of collaboration in terms of something that does respect the unique cultures, the unique peoples of Europe. And ultimately, the best basis to do that is on nationalism. It's on this mutual respect, this mutual ethnic understanding, and the sense of Europeanhood as rooted in the European people, the biological basis. So I think it really strengthens those ties, because without that, what is Europe, what is the EU? At this point, it's just democratic values, which is the same thing as every other multinational organization.
But my sense is there are not really democratic values now, because if Europeans try to exercise any kind of political agency, they are hammered for it. So there's no true freedom of speech. But I think that should be the first thing. Like the First Amendment, that should be the first thing for a new kind of brotherhood in Europe, a true freedom of speech.
I would love if every country in Europe had something like a solid free speech protection like in the US. I think that's one thing the US is ahead of us on culturally.
Should there be a human rights court to defend that kind of right? A united body?
No. Certainly, I would leave it up to the individual states. But I think certainly that's a swing that's happening right now in terms of places like the UK. You see Reform are getting very popular, promising to just scrap all of this hate speech and racism laws. There is a natural pushback against that. But like I said, the basis for collaboration is on the mutual respect of ethnic interests.
Yeah. So my sense is, I'm a human rights attorney, and I actually do specialize in the case law of the Human Rights Court.
Interesting.
And in many cases, well-developed pieces of case law on family rights, not having your child removed from the state, and a genuine freedom of speech protection is not implemented on the national level. And in that sense, it would actually be furthering nationalist or right-wing issues for the president of the Human Rights Court to be assented to. So I think in myself there's a contradiction. And the main contradiction and the main wound or weakness in the Human Rights Court system is that it is now furthering immigration, and it is now discriminating against the speech that is nationalist. And maybe the structure could be saved if those elements were pulled down or rebelled against, maybe through national referenda, stuff like that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, in theory, the whole structure of international law and so on.
I'm so sorry.
Started up.
Yeah. I'm so ambitious about it.
It was great talking to you.
Yeah. You're great.
Thank you, man.
Det er lidt ærgerligt, når film Det er lidt ærgerligt, når han... nu skulle jeg lige få feedback på min idé. Men så får jeg det ikke.
Thank you all for coming. Please now follow the police indications. Please exit in orderly fashion. And this event has been a success. I thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you also at RISM 2026.
Skal vi se, om vi får ballade?
So guys, please just ignore the media. Don't give any interviews. We talk to the press. That's okay. Also ignore the antifa. Again, we're very sorry to have to end it quickly, but we need to follow the instructions of the firefighters and the police.
I don't think there's time to do a video interview. Because
maybe we can find a place.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. That'd be awesome.
I think we're being kicked out of here anyway.
Yes, that's true. I was also thinking, because I know members of parliament in Copenhagen, maybe to invite you as a speaker there to speak on similar subjects. Yeah.
Look at all these people.
Look at all these people. Hello.
Where are you from?
Però non parla.
Okay.
Is there another young Dane? He's been staying with us. Yeah. All the Danes love Jared. Yeah. I think
Let's go this way.
Yeah, for the
All
train
right, let's go
station.
this way.
Yeah.
Very good.
God bless you all. Isn't that what he says? Bless those that curse you.
Yes, that's right. No, they're probably taking pictures of every person coming out.
That's true.
No, this has been a great thing. My only worry is that once I'm identified, I'll be again banned from Schengen. I don't know.
Oh, I don't hope. Yeah.
That's happened to me twice already.
It has?
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes. But I was banned by the Polish authorities, surprisingly enough.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it might be difficult to ban a speaker that's invited to parliament. That's
Well?
yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah. We've had Tommy Robinson speak at the
Oh, have you?
at the yes. I met him there actually. Yeah.
Au revoir. À la prochaine.
À la prochaine, bien sûr.
À la prochaine. Ça sera où et quand?
Jeg aner ikke, hvor mange sprog han kan tale. Han taler fransk, japansk, engelsk. I was just saying to the camera, I don't even know how many languages you can speak. You're a Japanese man, right?
I was made in Japan. I was made in Japan back in the 1950s when made in Japan meant junk, cheap junk. So I was made in Japan. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
But I am about as American as it is possible to be.
Okay.
The first tailor came to the North American colonies in 1635.
I see.
So we've been there a long time.
Yeah, there's a meme online about you looking very stereotypically American, handsome, and then it says under it, a Japanese man. It says, and I think it's interesting because like it highlights and maybe cuts to the bone of what is identity.
Yes.
Is it just where you're born? Because nobody believes that you are a Japanese man, even though you speak fluently Japanese, right?
Well, we Southerners have a way of putting it.
What makes you a Southerner?
Oh gosh, all my ancestors were Southern. All my male ancestors of military age fought for the Confederate States of America. So we know about invasion. We know about being conquered.
And you're English ethnically as well, too? Then?
Mostly English.
Mostly
Yes,
English,
yes. WASP.
What else?
Well, a little bit of Irish apparently,
Okay.
but almost exclusively English, Irish, yes, all North European.
Okay.
But I was telling you about our Southern expression.
Yes.
If you plant a carrot in the potato patch, it's still a carrot. So that's what I believe about where you're born.
Yes.
Being planted in the potato patch does not make you a potato if you really are a carrot.
Okay,
So-
but in that sense, then you are still an Englishman.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, what I like to say is, I am a European. Despite all those generations that I have lived in America, first as the colonies, then as the United States, everything about me is European. My language is a European language. The faith of our fathers is a European faith. Our culture, heritage, the way I see the world, all my sensibilities, my culture, and my destiny I consider also European.
But why choose then to say Southern? Is it not then?
It's
Sorry
like
to
being-
be
it's
a
like
pest.
being Dane. It's like being a Dane. You can be a Dane and a European.
Yes.
A Dane and a white man.
So it's in a sense hierarchical. There's a center and then different identities as they go out.
Well, as the French say, vive l'Europe des nations. Long live Europe, a Europe of nations. So each nation has its wonderful flavor and diversity and distinction. And I think I want all of those things to survive and prosper. But Europe must, of course, remain European. This goes without saying.
What I've known you for and what has been influential on me is your insistence that it's possible to speak on the realities of ethnicity and the reality, you call it race realism. I think, were you the one who coined that term?
No, I was one of the first early popularizers of it, however.
Yeah, that's what I know you for. And I think what was novel and new to me, being indoctrinated into this post-World War II ideology, was that you put morality close to being able to speak about naturalistic or biologically essential characteristics of people. And because people, they slander you as a white nationalist, slander you as a white supremacist. And well, are you those things? And what is the difference?
Well, to me, the idea of a white supremacist, that term is a historical term. That presumably means a white person who wants to rule over people of other races. And you could perhaps properly describe the colonial era. The French, the British, and the Spaniards, maybe they were white supremacists. They wanted to rule over people of other races. But I know of no white person who wants to rule over other people. We want to be left alone. We want to have the opportunity to hold our own destiny in our own hands, free from the engagement of people who are unlike us and who do not want to become like us.
So that's a rebellion against civil rights era legislation, right?
Yes,
that's
it
a
is.
right to discriminate.
That's right.
Why is that? Why can that be moral? Because if people say, "Hey, is that not racism?" How could racism ever be moral?
Tell me this.
Yes.
You make discriminating decisions every moment of your life. When you choose to have a beer rather than wine, you are discriminating. You are making a decision. It is an essential part of you as a free man to be able to choose not only what you drink, but with whom you associate, whom you marry. Is someone going to tell you whom you must marry? No, you are free. You should be free to hire people, to have associates, neighbors, people in your community. You should be free to choose. I believe in complete freedom of association. And if that means exclusion, I'm sorry. But if I refuse to associate with you, I have not harmed you. You are no worse off than you were before. And I must have that right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if white people do not have the freedom to choose, they will go extinct. That is all there is to it. And I refuse to go extinct.
I see you've been censored for many years.
Many years.
You started the foundation American Renaissance to allow yourself an organized speech about these issues.
Yes.
Why have they censored you? Why do they call you hateful? And why? And maybe this is a bit of a loaded, or there's a lot of elements to this question that I'm trying to pose. Is it possible to have genuine self-determination? Is it possible to have genuine democratic rights and true freedom of speech if specific viewpoints are excluded from what's part of, they call it hate speech, right? Yeah. They're not allowed to speak because it's hate speech. But my sense is that by curtailing freedom of speech like that, they essentially make it illegal for ethnic Europeans to organize, to express their opinions. Help me think about this. What's going on? How did we end up like this?
That really is, of course, the $64 question. Okay. Why have white people turned upon themselves, not just in the United States? Why are there so many Europeans who believe that somehow virtue requires that they be replaced by Arabs or Africans, people who are alien people, who do not really like Europe or Europeans anyway. Why is this a virtuous thing? You could ask 1 million Europeans the same question you're asking me. I don't frankly have a good explanation for it. What we are doing, what the European peoples are doing, is without precedent in the history of the world. We have the power to maintain our territory in which we are the majority, and in the case of Europe, in which we are the the indigenous people. And yet we refuse to guard our territory against this kind of invasion. No people has ever done this. And so there is no, in my mind, I have 15 different theories as to what has contributed to this psychological capitulation. None of them is genuinely satisfying. I think there's something about our nature as white people, as Europeans.
Okay, I'll wager my theory, and then you can shoot it down if it's bad. It's probably bad, but here's the ambitious theory here is, like Kipling said, Kipling was all about supremacy in a sense, right? The new caught sullen peoples, a kind of benevolent and serving kind of supremacy that was supposed to elevate and not really, not contribute or help the white person who was supposed to go out and spend himself for the betterment of others. I think the world has, specifically after World War II, lost the ability to believe that might or authority could ever be benevolent. Like seeing Nietzsche with the death of God idea, by allowing God to be dead, by allowing the idea of benevolence to go out of our ideas about what is real in the world, there is only the will to power. There is only a dominant species and a weaker species, and it's about suppressing and harming others. But by losing that center, that was the center of European civilization for a long time, also now is lost what allows us to live, because we cannot view ourselves as moral anymore. We cannot view ourselves as good, so we must die.
Well, we have turned morality on its head. So many white people are convinced that in order to do the slightest thing to preserve their peoplehood, if someone else is excluded as a consequence, that is immoral. This is a strange and perverted morality.
It's the inverted Nietzschean morality, right?
The question comes, where did that perversion and inversion of morality come from? As again, there are many theories. I think certainly the 2 world wars were very sobering for white people. After the First World War, there was this agonizing reappraisal of how did we do this horrible thing to ourselves and to each other, a very depressed thing. And then 21 years later, we do it all over again. Many white people thought, my gosh, this is a horrible thing. And their confidence in themselves disappeared. That was certainly part of it. And at the same time, I think that white people have a unique compulsion to take very seriously the opinions and the positions of others. If you think about the hallmarks of Western civilization, freedom of speech, one man, one vote, the rule of law. In every other society, if I am bigger and stronger than you, I can shut you up. I don't want you insulting me. I will shut you up. No freedom of speech for you. And
that's what they're trying to use on us here now.
Well, except that, no, my point is, also Europeans, we have this idea that the other person has rights, because even though I'm bigger and stronger, you have the right to speak. Also, respect for women. In all other cultures, practically without exception, women are sexual slaves and beasts of burden. Only the white man puts women on a pedestal and has a kind of courtly feeling about the opposite sex, the weaker sex. Also, we are the people who care about the planet. Other species, the whole environmental movement was discovered.
Is that a Kipling in a new guise?
Well, it's a different kind, but you see, all of these things have in common the idea of other people have a point of view. Future generations have a point of view. We must protect the planet for them. Other species have a point of view. We must not eat the whales. The Japanese are happy to eat the whales, but no, we must let the whales swim happily in the sea. And so this mentality of the white man, who thinks in terms of universals, everyone has freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of that, we are easily manipulated by other people who do not think in those terms. And so, if an Algerian comes to France and says, you must let us in, we have a point of view too, we have rights. White people can be manipulated this way, whereas no one else can. If an Algerian went to China and said, oh, you have a nice society, let us in, they'd say, get lost, get lost. Only white countries even take seriously the idea of accepting refugees. No, and only white people can be manipulated into thinking that to preserve their realm, their culture, their people, that this is somehow wrong. I think it's something deep in our nature. It is part of our nature that produced, as I say, freedom of speech, the rule of law, one man, one vote, the rights for women, the environmental movement, and protecting other species. We have this larger view, and that is why we have such a difficult problem convincing our fellow Europeans of what we must do. Every other race, if you tell them, this is good for you, that's all they need to know. It'll make me richer, I'll have more, that's all they need to know. White people have to be convinced it's moral. If this comes at the expense of someone else, someone who is from Africa who wants to live in our wonderful country, I have to think hard about that. We have to explain to them.
But is your success as an activist? Has it not come not from denying the elephant of the room in the room of morality, but actually grappling head on with the morality of it? Is that not how you've been so successful too?
Well, I'd like to think so. There's nothing more natural, normal, or healthy in the entire world than to want one's own people to survive and prosper. And this can be achieved without any kind of hostility towards other people. That is why calling someone like me a hater is so effective. Because if people think, oh, this fellow is motivated by hate, that's all they need to know. We don't have to listen to a word he says. He is an unhinged, cuckoo hater. No, we are all in this conference, all motivated by love of our people, whom we want our people to survive and prosper forever. We want them to carry our Western civilization forward, because if we go, our civilization goes. Only the biological heirs of the people who created Western civilization can carry it forward in a meaningful way.
So Kipling was wrong.
Well, Kipling had a bad idea. The idea that we are supposed to go out and tame these untamed savages and lift them up. No, we should leave them alone. They have their own destiny. And we can cooperate with them, we can wish them well, but they must hold their destiny in their hands, just as we must hold our destiny in our own hands.
Thank you, that was deep. What do you think?
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
My pleasure. I hope it'll be useful for you.
Yeah, I'm stimulating at the very least. Well, thank you,
Good.
sir.
My pleasure.
Have a nice day here. Bye. Så har vi været til konferencen. Der stod jo sådan en hel hær af journalister ude foran, der så meget, meget vrede ud. Det var så hårdt. Vi havde fået at vide, at man ikke måtte give interviews derude. Det synes jeg var sådan lidt med, at man ikke sådan lige måtte sige, hvad man tænkte til de der sådan fjendtlige pressefolk. Jeg synes overall, det var en god konference. Jeg synes, det er interessant, hvordan der nu opstår en eller anden form for pan-europæisk nationalisme. Det er sådan lidt ligesom det begreb, man har i USA, der hedder at være white. Og det er sådan det, der begynder at komme frem i de her mennesker. Altså, det er ikke bare en nationalisme, hvor det er hver for sig. Det er at mødes på den her måde, for at finde et fællesskab, der er større end det rent nationale. Og det er sådan som om, at de ikke helt selv er bevidste om det. De ved ikke helt, hvorfor at de synes, de er bundet sammen. Men der er sådan og det er det samme med mig. Jeg sagde, da jeg var på vej herned, vi bliver nødt til at hæve blikket og samarbejde de bedste imellem fra de forskellige nationer, hvis det er sådan, at vi skal være i stand til at lykkes med projektet. Men jeg ved stadig ikke, hvorfor. Det er bare en følelse, jeg har, at vi bliver nødt til at samarbejde på den måde. Vi bliver nødt til at støtte hinanden
Men der er ikke rigtig nogen, der sådan præcis kan tale om, hvorfor det så egentlig er. Og så det andet mærkelige var også, at der ikke var så meget tale om metafysik. Der var ikke nogen, der råbte, Christ is King! Der var ikke nogen, der snakkede om, at vi har en guddommelig sjæl eller sådan noget, og det er derfor, at vi kæmper. Fordi at det runger ud i evigheden, hvad det er, vi står for. Der var ikke noget af det. Der var ligesom en sådan... Der var blood and soil, ikke? Der var blod alene. Og det... jeg tror måske også, det var derfor, det føltes så intenst med den samtale, jeg havde med Jared Taylor. At han... Altså sådan... Fordi jeg tror ikke, at han... Han er jo hardcore nationalist også, når det kommer til stykket. Og der er ikke ligesom det... jeg tror også, han er kristen. Det er ikke, fordi det skal beskylde ham for at være ateist, men det er sådan ligesom det, der står øverst i hans sådan værdihierarki på en eller anden måde. Og det... det er bare interessant på en eller anden måde, ikke? Så der er sådan lidt, der er noget forvirret ved det, ikke? Der er noget... Der er moral, som er uartikuleret, eller et eller andet, der er ubesvaret i midten af det hele. Så begyndte der også at komme den her sådan krigslignende retorik på et tidspunkt. Nu kæmper vi imod dem. Nu vinder vi. Nu skubber vi dem tilbage. Det var specielt til sidst, det begyndte at komme. Mens at alle andre havde været meget sådan med, at jamen, vi tager fredeligt og tilbyder dem, at de kan vende hjem til deres egen hjemlande igen. Og det kan betale sig for os, og det kan betale sig for dem. Og så lige pludselig ud af det blå, så er der den her meget voldsom retorik og sådan genetikfokus. Det er ikke fordi, jeg synes, at man skal prøve at benægte. Det er ikke fordi, man skal prøve at benægte. Jeg synes ikke, det skal være forbudt, at man kan tale om det genetiske. Men jeg fik sådan lidt sådan en følelse af, altså fordi det, som de vil beskylde en for der udenfor, det er far right eller sådan noget. Jeg fik lidt den fornemmelse, da det var sådan, det blev sådan noget råbe-retorik, men jeg kan ikke helt sætte fingeren på, hvad dels løsningen er, eller hvad... Fordi altså, det er jo ikke ligesom Reconquista-bevægelsen, hvor muslimerne var kommet kun med vold og har slået sig igennem og har indtaget hele Spanien. Ham portugiseren, der snakker om, nu er vi reconquistaer. Vi er ikke reconquistaer. Der er ikke nogen, der er kommet med vold og magt og sådan indtaget det her område. Det er ikke sådan, det er jo. Det har været et moralsk, eller hvad skal man sige, sådan lidt et postkristent forsøg på at være rummelig, eller vi har forsøgt at sådan komme ud over den koloniale fortid og sådan prøve at være blinde for etnicitet, og så har vi forsøgt at være gode mennesker ved at hjælpe folk, der har været problemer. Og jeg tror, så længe man prøver at enkapsulere det i, hvis du prøver at gøre det til sådan bare, at nu er det en kamp om at bare tvinge dem tilbage og kæmpe med vold og sådan noget, så misforstår du hele problemet. Hele problemet er, der var heller ikke nogen, der snakkede om, hvordan at når migranterne de kommer sejlende på havet, at de dør på havet. Altså, at fordi menneskerettighedsdomstolen har givet lov til, at man kan komme sejlende ind, jamen så er der mennesker, der må lade livet på grund af det, fordi at de bliver lokket ud i det. Så der er sådan der er et eller andet med menneskeligheden. Altså det er en misforståelse i, hvad medmenneskelighed er. Det er en misforståelse omkring, hvad mennesker er, der gør, at vi har immigrationsproblemerne. Og så længe man ikke løser det problem, så kommer det til at fortsætte, fordi det der problemet kommer fra. Men det er meget interessant det hele. Jeg siger ikke, at jeg har svaret, fordi det er sådan... Hvis jeg havde svaret, så tror jeg kunne have skubbet Jared ud et sted, hvor han blev mere usikker. Men jeg har det ikke. Jeg kan ikke se det ultimativt. Så det er mine tanker sådan lige her nu.
Gode refleksioner, vil jeg sige.
Ja, synes du?
Og især det der med, jeg bed også mærke i det, med Alfonso Gonçalves til sidst, ikke?
Og skal vi ikke optage igen så, eller hvad? Eller skal vi bare det er lige, nu vil jeg høre, hvad du siger, fordi jeg tror, du siger noget, der er vigtigt og sandt.
Ja, jeg ved ikke, jo. Ja.
Vil du have med ryggen til?
Nej, jeg ved ikke, om det er klogt nok til at komme på kamera.
Nej, men så bare sig det.
Ja, jeg siger det, og så kan vi tage det igen, hvis du synes, det er fornuftigt. Ja, og jeg bed også mærke i det, den her reconquista-retorik, ikke? Og hvordan det et eller andet sted ikke... Ja, som sagt, som du selv siger, hvordan vores situation i dag ikke er den samme, som hverken den Spanierne var udsat for, eller hvordan Balkan har været underlagt af Osmannerriget. Det er jo helt forskellige situationer.
Ja.
Og i forlængelse af det, så synes jeg jo også, at som sagt, i mange foregående talere, ikke, hvordan vi snakkede om, hvordan vi kan gøre det på en fredelig måde, og hvordan det i virkeligheden gavner os alle i sidste ende. Ikke?
Ja.
Og det er jo også det, jeg forbinder med begrebet remigration. Ikke?
Ja.
Det, jeg også har været med til motivationen for at møde op, fordi jeg ved, at der er mange, der ikke forstår begrebet. Ikke?
Ja. Men så er det jo så, at og det var netop den store debat. Hvad betyder begrebet?
Ja.
Fordi det er blevet til et slogan.
Jamen,
og så kan de godt sige, at det ikke er et slogan, men det er et slogan.
Ja.
Og det er jo det, som de vil høre udenfor. Hvad betyder det? Hvad mener I, når I siger det? Men de vil gerne have, at det både skal rumme de fredelige resettlement-løsninger, men samtidig skal det også rumme, at i sidste ende, så sker det gerne med force. Det sker gerne med hård magt, og kommer over i det, man sådan groft sagt kan kalde sådan egentlig ethnic cleansing eller sådan noget, ikke?
Ja, men det er jo spørgsmålet, ikke? Fordi jeg tror også selv, at Gonçalves vil tilslutte sig den her fredelige løsning, som jeg synes i højere grad Langenhove, til dels Selner, ligesom gav udtryk for. Men der er et eller andet ved den der retorik, Gonçalves har, ikke?
Ja.
Jeg ved ikke, om det er usundt, men det tænder et eller andet i mig. Det gør det. Det gør det.
Det tænder noget i dig?
Når man kan se den
passion,
problemer, vi står overfor som civilisation, og som Flattingerbrug fremhævede, ikke? Hvordan vi potentielt kan være i mindretal i mange europæiske nationer ved udgangen af dette århundrede.
Ja.
Det er jo en forfærdelig situation, vi står i, og der er behov for handlekraft, og der er behov for idealisme, ikke? Og det synes jeg, især Gonçalves, han, jeg ved, det tænder noget i mig, og det tænder noget i mange andre unge europæere, og det er også derfor, jeg tror, at det er jo det her handlekraften, ikke? Det er også det, der ligesom ligger til grund for mange.
Det tændte også noget i mig, og også sådan lidt, wow, og tænk på forfædrene, fordi der fik han, det var der, det begyndte at blive metafysisk, noget omkring, at sådan være i forbindelse, altså at vores arv er det, der er ved at blive mistet. Det kunne tænde mig, det var det, som Simon han sagde, det er han pisse ligeglad med. men det tændte mig, og der var sådan en urgency, og også sådan moral force bag det, han sagde. Han troede på det, han sagde også. Men så begyndte det så, han blev bevæget af det, og vil starte noget. Men så går det over i det der bliver meget, det bliver hitlerisk jo. Det bliver sådan den der ledermand, der står og råber og riler op til vrede også, ikke? Altså en stålsathed. Så det er sådan, jeg tror det som man skal forstå, det er, at hvis ikke de der fredelige løsninger bliver gennemført hurtigt eller snart, hvis ikke at der bliver gjort noget ved det der, jamen så bliver den der sådan voldsomme retorik, den bliver mere og mere tillokkende.
Ja, det gør den.
Altså jo mere tiden går, jo mere kommer det til at blive sådan der. Hvis det er, at man ikke går efter at lave de der sådan, hvad skal man sige, mere bløde løsninger først. Og det er jo argumentet for, hvorfor det er de bløde løsninger, de skal sådan gennemføres med den der form for, hvad skal man sige, sådan viljestyrke eller sådan noget. Det skal man gå ind i de der mere sådan kompromisagtige løsninger meget hurtigt, for ellers så kan man så se, hvor det er, det kommer hen af til sidst, tror jeg. Ja. Vildt.
I er mere sydlandske, end jeg er.
Hvordan?
Siden I tænder på den der forfædrene.
Jamen prøv at se på mig.
Fra dine bedste forældre.
Se hvordan det ser ud.
Begravet under træet, der giver den skygge, og vi mister det hele.
Jeg synes, den her diskussion, den er den fede jo i virkeligheden. Det synes jeg er det fede ved det faktisk. Så er vi inde ved den sådan altså, det enten så tipper det over i det farlige, eller også er det sådan færre eller sådan noget, ikke? So I'm here with a great, beautiful German man. What's your name?
Arminius.
Arminius?
Yeah, that's my username.
Arminius. Okay.
Full name is not disclosed yet.
Okay. Its real identity is hidden. Oh, there's this poem called Holger Danske, after Ogier the Dane, who was a paladin in Charlemagne's army. And it's supposed to be the Danish folk soul. And one of the lines is, if the Dane would fight in the world but hide his face and name, I know his soul is not true and I will not embrace him. So, but you're not a Dane.
That's not the case.
You're not a Dane, but I hope the soul is true anyway. But
yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. But the reason I wanted to talk to you, because you are one of the Germans who has been given this order not to leave Germany.
Yes.
Yes. How do you feel about that?
We were pretty surprised. We were ready to go on a nice trip. We are here now, so luckily, but we were very surprised. It was a hard time. We were 8 hours in captivity. So
you were arrested for 8 hours.
Yes, we were searched. Everything. We were
because you were on a plane and trying to come here, and then they arrested you.
Yes.
Yeah, on suspicion on being a right-wing extremist.
On suspicion of damaging the reputation of Germany in other countries. Yes. Yeah. Because of being right-wing extremist. Yes.
That's so insane. See, I'm a human rights attorney. I wrote my master's thesis on freedom of speech, and that when you just on the face of it, that just seems incompatible with everything that the Human Rights Court is supposed to be protecting.
That's what we thought too. We have a very good lawyer, a very known lawyer in Germany for activists, and he was going to court to get this thing removed as fast as possible, and the court said no, and the next court also said no, it's rightful. So we are hoping that we can still kind of get this thing rid of us, because now we have the probable penalty of 1 year of prison. That's the maximum penalty for what we did.
It's because you defied that order and still went.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was an order not to go to Italy, and in spite of that order, you still went here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you feel about it? How come you were willing? What do you feel when you take the risk of defying the law like that?
For us, it's more like fun and games, playing with the state, like cat and mouse. And
Is that how you feel about it?
Yes, we're not afraid. We are definitely not afraid. They can do whatever they want to us. They can raid our homes. They can put us in prison. We do not care, because we are convinced that we are doing the right thing, and we are saying nothing that's unlawful, nothing that's untrue. We are on the right side, I think, and that's why we are here, against all orders or whatever.
Okay. Because I would be fearful. I would be thinking I have to be realistic and think about what the consequences of this might be, given such an order. That's not gone through your head?
Of course, we are thinking about what's happening when we come back. We probably will get arrested again. We get questioned again. It's gonna be a hard time, but I think in the end, the media coverage and everything, it's going to help us, and we have very good supporters for the fines and stuff, so we're not afraid of losing our existence, and we are having a good look into the future, and we are hopeful that everything's going to turn out the right way, and in the end we are going to be the winners.
I was having the sense, and I was discussing it with one of our friends who's here in Denmark, like the vibe
is it moral? What is the ideology that is seemingly now being presented implicitly at the Remigration conference? And my sense is that it's a new kind of nationalism, a new kind of ethno-nationalism.
Yes.
In that, but that it's pan-European.
Yes, that's
So it kind of feels like white nationalism for all of Europeans, and I kind of feel like, okay, how do we distinguish this from something like Hitler?
Yes.
Are we now returning to the potential mistakes that were inbuilt in nationalistic ideology, and how can these things be grounded into to more metaphysical or moral principles to make sure that the potential mistakes of the past are not committed again now? How do you feel about that?
So I think the biggest difference is that we do not have anything against any other ethnicity or any other culture. We just want to preserve ours.
Yes.
And that's what...
No Lebensraum, aggressive campaign.
Nothing like that. We have enough space, but it gets overcrowded if anyone comes in. So we do not want to expand. We do not want to conquer. We just want our culture to live and flourish.
Yeah.
So
the difference is whether it's defensive or aggressive.
Yes. I think now we are acting out of defense, and we have to, because otherwise this culture, like you see, everything is so beautiful, and also in Germany, also in all other European countries, these cultures are getting destroyed step by step, and each year and each decade this goes on, we lose time, and we have to act now.
Do you think that a nationalistic ideology, if it places race as God, that can become an issue there? Can a race ideology go too far?
Well, yeah, of course, we have seen it happen, but I think the good word for that is ethno-cultural. Like, it's not about race, it's ethno-cultural. It's the mix between the culture and ethnicity, and that's what makes this very specific. And I think every culture and every ethno-cultural group has a right to be preserved and has a right for their own territory
and culture.
Yes, of course, and they have every right to flourish there.
Yes.
And when I go travel, I like it. When I go to Turkey, I like the culture. I want to know that I'm Turkey. I want to know that I'm in Milan. But if you go to Germany,
ethno-pluralism.
Yes,
and
yes.
a true kind of respect for diversity.
Yes, really, because there is no diversity. Everything is mixed everywhere. You know? You cannot distinguish. If you go to Berlin, you don't know where am I. Am I in Paris? Am I in Milan? Am I in Rome? You don't. Everything's the same. Every shop is the same. Everything is very globalistic. So that's it's a huge problem, and we have to go back from that and we have to make everything special.
I like that a lot. I had a conversation with Jared Taylor, and it became almost intense.
Yes.
I was trying to pick fun at this thing that you're just mentioning now, because he was born in Japan, and then he says that he's a Southerner. He might have been born in Japan and he speaks fluent Japanese, but he's still a red-blooded Southern American.
Yeah.
But then I said, but are you not an Englishman really? Because you have English heritage from the Anglosphere.
Yes.
And he says, yes, I am that too. So I was like, what is it? What is identity really? It is both location and traditions and a way of life that is local to a specific area, and then it has an ethnic component at the same time. Is that the truth, or?
I think it's not that easy to pinpoint your finger on that specific thing what makes the culture what it is. So there are so many things that come together and make the whole thing special or its own. So I think it's hard to just say this has to be given and this has to be given and this period of time has to be given to be called a new people or something. So it's a really hard question, and I think there are people who have the right brain and the knowledge to work this out. But I'm not this person, but
I think he's doing all right. But how do you feel about Jesus? And how does Jesus fit in anywhere in this project? And is he necessary?
For myself, I'm not Christian. I'm not religious at all. I've never had the contact, so my family was not religious, and like I was raised in Bavaria, which is actually a pretty Roman Catholic area, but within my hometown, it was nothing we talked about. There was no. It's probably also a social thing. So the richer families still are very Catholic, but the lower classes do not have probably the time to think about something like that anymore, because we have very much struggles. Even if you think Germany is a prosperous country, but no one has its own home anymore. Everyone has to work like very much to get the food on the table. So it's. I sometimes think about it. Could there be something? Who's right? Who's wrong? But for me, it's nothing that is so much important.
Okay. Is it important for a movement to have a spirituality to it too, or do you think is there a spirituality in the movement now, or is it? Or is the ideology or the political movement, is it becoming its own kind of meaning-giving institution instead of religious?
I think that's kind of the thing. So I think in larger time scales, I don't want just for me to have a nice life. I just want a nice life for my kids, for their kids, and I want to work towards this goal. And
being a good person in the real world.
Yes. And these concepts of religion are very old, which doesn't mean that they are outdated or something. But I think we have problems these people back then couldn't have even thought of. So I'm not sure if they are the answer to our problems now. We have to think new solutions.
I like that a lot. So thank you very much. What was the moniker again? What was your alter ego?
Arminius.
Thank you. Well, it was very good. Thank you.
Så vi spurgte folk, hvad det var, det betød, at de står og drejer en omgang på tyrens nosser. Det er noget, man gør for at få et ønske opfyldt herinde i galleriet. Det er sådan lidt white supremacist-agtigt, det her. Så er det kinesere, der bliver fortalt, hvordan de skal gøre det. Herover er det så afrikaneren, der får besked. Herover er det indianerne, der får besked. Og her er der så en engel eller sådan noget. Hvad synes du om det her sted, Simon?
Like it.
Du kan godt lide det?
Ja.
Du går ikke så meget op i de store skønne ting, som jeg gør jo. Er det ikke sådan?
Interior design, arkitektur.
Ja.
Går jeg op i.
Nå, så det kan noget stadig?
Ja, det kan det.
Det kan noget.
Det er ikke grad.
Jeg er helt tosset med det. Jeg forstår godt, at der er så mange, der gerne vil ind og have taget billeder her og sådan noget. De billeder, som vi fik taget derude også før, det synes jeg var sådan lidt. Wow. Det er lige noget for mig. Men det er jo så fordi, så siger folk, du er så forfængelig og sådan noget på Twitter. Er jeg en meget forfængelig mand, Simon?
Ja.
Ja?
Lidt, ikke?
Ja.
Lidt meget.
Jeg er den eneste, der har jakkesæt på, i hvert fald. Skal vi ikke gå over i domkirken? Se om vi kan komme ind?
Jo. The sons of Europe were sons of God. Our continent is named after Europa, the woman taken by the god king Zeus, who had taken the form of a bull. By him she had 3 noble sons, one a just king, one a wise judge, and one a brave warrior. As Paul the Apostle preached the gospel to the sons of Europe in Athens, at the Areopagus, he said that the Christian and Greek doctrines were alike in affirming mankind as the children of God. In Acts 17 it is recorded how Paul spoke. The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human hands, and he is not served by human hands, as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as some of your own poets have said, we are his offspring. The Apostle Paul here likely referred to the hymn to Zeus by the philosopher Cleanthes, which, though preceding Jesus by 3 centuries, seems almost perfectly Christian. And I quote from Cleanthes: "Not upon the earth is wrought in thy despite, O God, nor in the ethereal sphere aloft which ever winds about its pole, nor in the sea, save only what the wicked work in their strange madness. Yet even so thou knowest to make the crooked straight. Prune all excess, give order to the orderless, for unto thee the unloved still is lovely." And thus in one all things are harmonized, the evil with the good, that so one word should be in all things everlastingly. One word, which evermore the wicked flee, ill-fated, hungering to possess the good, they have no vision of God's universal law, nor will they hear, though if obedient in mind, they might obtain a noble life, true wealth. Instead they rush unthinking after ill, some with a shameless zeal for fame, others pursuing gain disorderly, still others folly or pleasures of the flesh, but evils are their lot. And other times bring other harvests, all unsought, for all their great desire its opposite. But Zeus, thou giver of every gift, who dwellest within the dark clouds, wielding still the flashing stroke of lightning, save, we pray, thy children from this boundless misery. Scatter, O Father, the darkness from their souls. Grant them to find true understanding, on which relying thou justly rulest all, while we thus honored in turn will honor thee, hymning thy works forever as is meet for mortals, while no greater right belongs even to the gods than evermore justly to praise the universal law. Then as now, if the sons of Europe wish to flourish and shine their light to the world, they must know that the final purpose of European culture and of all European law must be to know and remind themselves to be the sons of God.